Let's all scream. Let's all scream. Scream, scream, let's all scream.
Hi everyone, welcome to Let's All Scream. My name is Saleh Al Braik,
I'm Shehlaa Ali.
And I'm Hassan Al Marashi.
and welcome to our latest episode. To start off, I'm gonna ask you guys, how has your past week been?
It's been for me quite exhausting. I don't know why. It felt like a very long week, and the weekend just felt too short. But I mean, it was okay. I can't think of anything that was like super eventful or that happened. I think I just need to take a break
Yeah.
sometime soon and just catch my breath. I feel like things have been very like go, go, go the past
Yeah.
since the start of the summer. And you know, when the weather's so hot outside, even though we haven't gone out much, it just feels like you feel so drained for some reason. I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, well, one thing that you forgot to mention is that you guys actually went out a couple of times this week.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we went out to the baby's her 1 year checkup,
Yeah.
and then the day after I needed to go get my glasses. So I wear glasses, and we needed to go get the prescription done. So that was a second outing. It felt so weird to be out, but
Do you love how going out is a topic in itself?
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Like for us, it was actually in the beginning. It was hard, not hard, but it was just. I can tell Hassan was tense. I was tense, and just being cautious and aware of like everything you touch and everything you like. If my abaya was or like my outfit would like touch the floor or like touch the wall, I'd be like thinking, oh my god. It touched the wall. Who knows what's on this wall? But then, like later on in the outing, it got a bit better. And then just once we came home, we washed up and changed and everything.
I mean, I think for me, the heat was so distracting
Yeah.
that I didn't really think much about the fact that we're out. Obviously, when you wear a mask on top of it, it's like, it makes it that much harder to breathe.
And we
Yeah.
wore the N95,
The N95
one.
mask.
Yeah.
And that was
those are tough.
it was so suffocating. We couldn't it was just so hard to breathe.
For those who are not maybe familiar with this region, right now in Dubai, I think some of the temperatures reach about 50 degrees Celsius, which is quite high.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine not only about the temperature, like when we're talking temperature here in this part of the world, it's the humidity that's worse.
Yeah.
And being a coastal emirate, living so close to the ocean or the sea, sorry, it's makes it that much worse because so you're literally breathing.
Like
It's like you're breathing water.
hot water vapor. Yeah.
So it does become. It
And
does become
it
difficult.
affects the humidity affects the heat so much. Like in Iraq, my family, it's as hot, but because
a
of the
dry
humidity,
heat.
exactly because of the humidity, they don't have as much humidity, so
Yeah.
it's not as hot or it's not as suffocating.
I remember I went to and I spent but I visited like Kuwait a few summers in my past, and it's always known that Kuwait temperature wise gets even hotter than here.
Yeah.
But it's dry heat. It's not humid. And
Yeah.
when I've gone there, yes, it was hot, but it was bearable. Like we would be, it was me and a few friends, and we would be, say, because it was a vacation, so we would be by the pool, and it was bearable.
And
it
once
wasn't
the
bad.
sun goes down, that's it. You can.
Yes.
It feels cool.
But here, the humidity doesn't know when the sun goes
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
It stays. But I think your experience with your emotions and that anxiety of kind of going out and going through that is something I can relate to. I think on the first day that I went to work,
Yeah.
you guys know that on my first day, it was not just anxiety, but it was like it got to the point of where I was getting a bit nauseous. And I obviously voiced this to my team, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna push through. But someone mentioned it today, a colleague of mine, which made me laugh, and she was like, because it's been, I would say, this is the 4th week we've gone back to the office, and at this point in time, we're at the office 4 days of the week, and we're allowed to have one working from home day.
Right.
So it's like 4 days at the office and 1 day at home. And she was mentioning to me today, she was like, you, from where you were on day one to where you are today, you are
Is different.
so chilled. She was like, I assumed you were gonna come with like a hazmat suit.
And yeah, you don't realize how easy it is to adjust, and how as human beings we can easily just adapt exactly
Yeah.
to
And-
the situation.
And that's what I felt like now when I go to the office. I won't say it's still not in the back of your mind, but seeing people going out, going to the coffee shop
Yeah.
downstairs, sometimes we have lunch, we're moving, and you see people that you necessarily haven't been seeing whilst you were in lockdown and
Yeah.
quarantine. It just makes things more easier. And so I still practice, obviously social distancing and sanitizing, but definitely it's funny. It's now I'm fine with this whole weird new world that we're living in.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I always tell people this is temporary. This is temporary, and wait, it's not going to be something that is long term. And so I think that's kind of also getting me through the days.
But I think, like Shehlaa said, like you adapt so easily. So like driving back home, it was like, it was just another day out. Like
Yeah.
it didn't really feel.
And
Obviously, you have to, remove your mask and
Yeah.
like wash your hands properly and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we take the extra step of removing our clothes and showering.
Yeah.
But other than that, it just felt like any other outing kind
Doesn't
of.
it feel weird, by the way, that the things that most people are complaining about are things that of cleanliness? Like I'm actually not sad about the fact that things are being sanitized extra and
No,
Not at all.
and that social distancing. I don't like people being all up in my grill. Just like have
No,
that
and-
distance.
And especially Hassan and even me, we're both very much clean freaks, I feel,
Yeah.
in the sense that like sanitizing and these kind of things. So the idea that things are being sanitized, like I went to the grocery store last week,
Yeah.
and they still like wipe down the carts and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, thank you. And I just like I love that extra.
It's like the
step.
world has caught up with you guys.
Exactly.
On the note of the episode itself, if we were to go back, we were kind of, the way that, and we've voiced this before, the way that we look at or try to come up with topics is never planned. We kind of just roll into it, or like, we
Yeah.
always
Just fall into
fall into things that are happening to us and happening to most of us on a daily basis. And so when the topic of or the question came from Hassan, which is, what are we going to talk about today? I quickly just raised my hand and I was like, I have something that, that is like on my chest. And I think I wanted to get off my chest and kind of have a talk about. And usually when we go through these episodes, we don't necessarily talk about it at length before.
Yeah.
So whatever is said on this episode is fresh perspectives, even for ourselves. So that's something that I also wanted to get out of this episode, was to find out the way Shehlaa and Hassan also think about this specific topic. So coming back to the topic, I wanted to kind of go through the idea of judgment, and that word is very broad and obviously can't be covered in just a single episode.
Yeah.
And we may have even mentioned small things in the past
That relate to it,
that relate
yeah.
to judgment, but I think it's good to have a topic where we're just talking about not just judgment from others, but how we may have subconsciously judged others as well, and like that
Yeah.
we are guilty of it, because sometimes it's in your subconscious, whether it's part of your surroundings or part of the social norm of where you're from. And there are many things that can be judged. It could be the way a person is or carries themselves, things that they've said, judging a book by its cover. So we wanted to go into this in detail, and I think each of us have different walks of life that we can bring to the
different
table.
perspectives.
But I just wanted to open it up for us today and to try to get you guys to kind of open up and think, where do you stand when it comes to judgment in today's society?
So I think the topic of, it's been very trendy, I think, for the past, I'd say maybe 10 years or so, maybe a bit more, to say, oh, I don't judge anyone, or like, I'm not a judgmental person. And while that can be true to a certain extent. I think we all have biases, and we all have things that either through our upbringing, through our surrounding, through just, the people that we associate with, we have these biases that we judge people on, whether we realize it or not. And I think as much as I try to not judge, there are things that I will judge, and I won't apologize for judging them. For example, the other day I was on Twitter, and I saw someone posted a video saying, I will trick my kids and put them into, like, I'll put my boys into sports, for example, aggressive sports, and I'll talk to my daughters about marriage and kids and taking care of the house, so that they don't deviate from their masculinity or femininity. And like if my daughter wants to cut her hair short, I'll tell her, no, you're a girl, you have to keep your hair long. And I remember thinking, like, the fact, and this was like a person saying this, they weren't quoting anyone. They were like, this was their belief.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, how can you, like, I cannot fathom thinking about raising my daughter that way. Like, Shehlaa and I were joking a few months ago, and we were like, even if she wants to be a ladybug, we'd support her with that.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a ridiculous, like, extreme example, but like, so
now you're gonna have ladybugs everywhere protest against this episode.
By the way, Saleh's face as you were telling the story, I don't know if you noticed it, but it went into like disgust and then like confusion and like just several different.
But
I was so in awe. I'm just like staring at her.
Yeah, and like I can't, like, I judge that woman for making those statements. Like, okay, that may be her opinion, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, but in my opinion, that's a wrong way to raise a human. Like, that's so manipulative. Like, how can you think that that's an okay way to raise your child, to trick them into being super macho and masculine if they're a boy by putting them in aggressive sports? Or, if they're a girl, then, teach them only about being a housewife or, raising children.
Yeah.
Like, people are not built that way. We all have our own hopes and dreams. We all have and there's so many great women that have accomplished so many things and excel in roles that are traditionally male roles. Anyways, that's a whole other topic. But all that is to say, I judge that person, and I don't think I'm wrong for judging them because I'm judging them not based on not knowing them.
Yeah.
I'm judging them based on what they've said and what they've put out into the world.
So let's dissect the word, right? When you say you're judging that person, you'd actually, I mean, I don't, for some people, when they throw around, oh, don't judge, you technically don't mean any ill will to that person.
Yeah,
it's
of
not
course.
like you're,
exactly.
you're.
I mean, look, this woman could be a completely, like, amazing person and, like, great, but, like, okay, this is a better way to say it. I'm judging what she said.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they put out there.
But I also kind of judge her because what you say, I'm sure
is a reflection of.
Is a reflection. You know what I mean?
But
I can't help that.
Now here's where people, I'm only trying to play devil's advocate. When you say that, there are going to be people out there, and I've said this before, and I say, okay, so you're judging her statement, but then again, it's a reflection of who she is.
Yeah.
But then again, you can also be argued that that's a reflection of perhaps her
personality.
surroundings, the way she was brought up, what she was
that's
programmed.
True. That's true.
Her beliefs, her morals. So there's so many different layers. So some people might say, no, but why do you judge her? It might not be her fault, if you know what I'm trying to
Yes,
say.
but at the same time, like, I feel these days we have so many resources. It's not like, people are living in caves and don't have access to all this information and, like, these different discussions that are happening around gender roles or any topic, really.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's not really that much of an excuse.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, I have to be honest with myself and know that maybe I'm not that enlightened to feel like, oh, I can completely never judge anyone on it. I'm that's not me. Like,
Yeah.
Of course, I want to be better at that. I want to not have these preconceived notions about people, but sometimes you just can't help it.
And like, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, I feel like we're all human.
Yeah.
We all judge something, someone, and I feel like it's human nature. I'm not saying that it's fine, but I'm saying, like, when I judge someone, it's not. I don't, like you said, I don't mean any ill will towards them.
Yeah.
It's just, as I feel like a human being, I receive information and then I process that information.
And you choose to disagree or agree.
Exactly.
Or
So
Yeah.
kind of,
exactly.
yeah.
And I think actually there's a difference between disagreeing with someone and judging them. You shouldn't take someone disagreeing with you as, oh, you're judging me. Like, no, that's just a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
I agree with Shehlaa when you said that we are human at the end of the day. Even if you think about it, when you tell someone, I don't judge, but then again, you subconsciously judge another. And what
Yeah.
do I mean by subconsciously judge? You're not actively judging someone. You maybe perhaps, like Hassan, read a tweet.
Yeah.
You maybe, see someone on the road that you don't even know. You might see someone, or overhear a conversation.
Yeah.
As human beings, I mean, I've been there. I've been in a restaurant and I overheard a conversation primarily because the people that were having the conversation were too loud.
Yeah.
That they were asking us to, eavesdrop. And they were discussing, something about their work, and they were complaining about their jobs and their roles that they're playing, and something that one of the people in the conversation had said, which is, anyway, I'm doing the bare minimum and I'm getting paid anyway.
Yeah.
Why should I even bother?
You can't help but.
You can't help
Yeah.
but judge. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
but then again, it's not like I wanted any ill will, but I don't know this person, but just overhearing that,
Yeah.
and then of course it wasn't followed by a laugh or like at
Like
least
they were serious
like they
about
it.
were
Yeah.
serious,
Yeah.
and it might have been a laugh, but it was probably a snarky laugh. But like for me, speaking as someone who I take my job very seriously, I just feel like, oh, that's quite irresponsible. So now is that judgment? Are we not allowed to do that? But then again, it's programmed.
But
Yeah,
like Hassan said earlier, is when you say something, that is a reflection of who you are, I feel.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people I feel, would say something, and either that's something that they haven't really thought about deeply and they just blurted it out.
Like a flippant comment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it can easily be taken, and someone can easily take it and judge that that sentence or that comment or opinion. And just simply saying that, automatically you're taken into this image.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's the other side to this, is sometimes you may not really mean it, but then just by saying it,
You're judged for
you're
it.
judged for it.
Yeah. We have been surrounded by not just judgment our entire lives, but I think in every faith,
Yeah.
you have talk of judgment that took place from literally the beginning of mankind.
Yeah.
Judgment has always been there, heck, we even talk about Judgment Day. So it's basically something that's a word or something that happens, in our everyday lives. There are people that even throw around the world that nobody can judge me but God.
Yeah.
And so these are things that it's going to exist. It's never going to be eradicated.
Yeah.
You're never going to have a judgment-free life. And then, like Hassan was saying, there's no such thing as very few people would ever probably find the enlightened version of themselves that
Yeah.
will elevate them to a point of a judgment-free life. So it's not that we're trying to say we are pro-judgment. It's just what we're
It's a
discussing right now
reality.
is the reality that judgment
Yeah.
is just going to be
Yeah.
there. We just
And I
have to
feel
kind of
like-
adapt.
I feel like nowadays it's become such a sensitive subject. Like, as we're sitting here talking about it, I'm like, are we going to be judged about talking about judgment?
No, it's
You
true
know?
because
Exactly.
you can't say anything at the moment without offending
Someone.
someone.
Yeah.
And look, I fully accept that. As soon as you put anything out there publicly, you are opening it up to judgment, and
Yeah.
that's completely like it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Not to say that we're like these massive celebrities that like people are gonna judge, but what I mean by that is, you have to. I think there's two sides of it. So you have to expect that what you're going to say is going to be judged, or rather, people are going to have their opinions on it. At the same time, as someone absorbing information or receiving the information, you have to also maybe try and put in a filter, and instead of immediately going to judge something, give it the benefit of the doubt, or give that person the benefit of the doubt. So like with the example I just brought up, okay, maybe I'll bring up the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she hasn't had that education, or she hasn't had that discussion. Maybe she was very sheltered growing up, and she really like believes that this is the right way, and the message that she's sending out is helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe that's her intention. I don't know.
Yeah.
What I do know is I don't agree with what she said, and that's fine.
Yeah. Seeing that that's a topic that Hassan brought up, actually, let's role reverse right here. Shehlaa, you are obviously a new mom.
Yeah.
And if, for example, I'm sure you have many techniques that you have learned in the past year,
Yeah.
and continue to learn. And I'm 100% sure that you were probably judged by one or two of your techniques that you used.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you say? Like, say, you have a Hassan in here, not to say that he's judgmental, but in this scenario,
Yeah.
you had someone that heard about a technique that you use that
Yeah.
in your mind is right, and tells you that, they're judging you.
This is the thing. It's so funny that I'll bring up a topic, and my mom is listening to this, where I think it was my grandmother, who I was, when the baby was first born, especially here in our region, we have, they give the baby Yansun, or as it's known in English, aniseed. And they mix it with like water, and they make a very light tea, and they give it to the baby. And this helps with gas and all that. Of course, with science developing and everything, we are realizing that it's not healthy to actually give the baby all of these things, because in the beginning, the baby only needs breast milk.
Yeah.
I was having a discussion with my grandmother when the baby was first born, because the baby was very colicky when she was first born. And we were having the discussion of should the baby have it or not. And I was
Yeah.
very firm in saying I don't want the baby to have it. And so I was being judged for simply saying, with the research that I had, and my mom was on her side, on my grandma's side at the time, until like I pulled up the research, and I'm like, look at this, and this is what it says. And then my mom, being like a younger mother, that she knew
A different generation.
yeah. So she wasn't the same generation as my grandmother.
Yeah.
She was able to comprehend and understand that. And I'm not insulting my grandmother here, but we were having that discussion like constantly, whether I can give it to her or not. And I'm not saying I won, and I'm not saying I lost. but like there were times where I gave in, and there were times where I stood my ground. And I think that's the thing, is that you get judged on everything, and like, especially as a mom, every small thing you do and say as you're walking outside. I'm sure so many moms agree. If the baby starts crying in the supermarket, you get like judged, and their looks and
Oh.
everything. Oh, why?
I don't know what it is, but when it comes to moms, like everyone has an opinion about like how they should raise or treat their child.
I think the worst judgment parents get is by taking toddlers to the movies, and then they cry, especially when
The
it's a
supermarket. I don't
especially
know.
no, but if it's a late movie, like and I think
Oh, yeah.
we've been in those theaters
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
when you go into like a midnight screening, and all of a sudden you hear a kid screaming, and you're like, how does
I've-
anyone bring a 1-year-old to a midnight screen? Like,
To be
Yeah.
honest, I actually I'm gonna judge those who do right now, and just say I don't know how they do that, because with me at least, the moment it hits 8:30 and the baby, like you saw this yesterday, Saleh, the baby wasn't. I didn't put her down exactly at 8:30. It was a little late after, and she started putting poor child. She started putting her head on the sofa, and like you could tell she's tired.
She was
I'm
passing
like,
out.
exactly. I'm like, if I were to actually take her out later than her bedtime, I feel like I'm just gonna like destroy her sleep.
But then again, like when I remember once when I brought this up and I was with a friend,
Yeah.
and the friend was like, "Listen, it obviously looks like the person or the family that the kid was crying, the crying kid toddler belonged to a family that was they were tourists, so they weren't from here." And so my friend was telling me that, okay, don't judge them, because if they're tourists in Dubai, maybe they don't have someone to watch over the toddler.
Yeah, that's true.
But then I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, then they shouldn't come to the cinema. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It was just, again, I would love to say that I can preach and say I don't judge, but I do it subconsciously. But
Yeah.
it's not on things that mean anyone ill will. It's just these little things that sometimes I'm just
Yeah.
like, really?
I will just put a disclaimer out there. I have learned since becoming a parent, I don't judge other parents when it comes to like little things. Like obviously, if you're gonna put your child in like serious danger, then yes, I'm gonna judge you. But if it's something silly like this, then I
Yeah, I was just gonna
but
say,
yeah, but I mean,
like-
I don't. Again, when I say I
No,
like, judge
I'm
them,
not. I'm not like saying. I'm not talking about you in this instance. I'm just saying in general. Like I was that person. I would judge people who brought their child to restaurants or like to the movies or something.
Yeah.
When it's late. But now I've learned. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Like maybe they really needed that break. There could be a million reasons.
Yeah, like Hassan said, unless you're putting your child in immediate danger, but like especially when it comes to sleep deprivation and just the lack of peace and quiet that one can get, I won't judge any mom.
Parent.
Yeah, because trust me, if you go through 3-4 days of no sleep, let alone weeks, I would do anything in a supermarket just to get my baby to stop crying.
Yeah.
So it can get very intense, especially when it comes to parenting.
So moving the topic away from parenting, if we were to talk about judging a book by its cover, let's look at social media and our own experiences.
Right.
Personally, up until this day, I'm talking. So I started a public social platform when I was 19, and it was a Twitter account. So I've been on social media, publicly, I would say,
Yeah.
sharing first of all, it was words or thoughts on Twitter.
Yeah.
Now it's more, pictures and captions on Instagram, for 13 years. Up until this day, I still get people telling me, things like, you weren't what I expected. And I keep on getting,
What do you mean when they meet you in
when
person?
they meet me in person, they're like, oh, I had such a different idea about you. I actually have had people say, oh, I used to hate you.
Oh wow.
That's a powerful
Wow.
word.
Yeah.
And they were like, and then obviously, for me, I don't know about you guys, but if someone tells me that, I have like the face crack of the year. I'm just like, what do you say? Like, do you smile?
Yeah.
Do you like, I'm just like, anyway, when I do, like, go into that deeper in a conversation with anyone that
Yeah.
tells me, they all basically say, oh, I saw a tweet of yours, or I saw a picture of yours, or I read a caption of yours, and I had a preconceived notion about who you were.
Yeah.
And one of them, or like the most recent, would be, why do you preach about, or not why do you preach about, someone was judging me based on calling me out and saying, how can you preach about problems when you obviously live so lavishly? Now, I don't know if this person needs a reality check, because if you're on Instagram, trust me, there's like millions of people living lavishly on this.
If you're going based on Instagram,
if you're going based on
yeah.
Instagram, whether it's fake or not, it's still way more lavish.
Like
I mean,
people who post like supercars or
Again,
jewelry.
Exactly.
we've said this before. I feel like Instagram is just it's a front. It's not even what your life is.
which is by the way, if you think about, I actually don't think it's just on social media. It's on everything.
Oh, yeah.
Every encounter you have with someone for the first time, every conversation you
Yeah.
overhear, every meeting you have is a 1% of someone's 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Just think of a simple example. If you invite people over to your house,
Yeah.
you're gonna put out the best plates. You're gonna put out the best.
You're going to have your house all tidy. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm speaking as like a mom.
Yeah.
Just the other day when we had her birthday, that was one day. For example, when you came over, let's say you were a guest, a proper guest who doesn't often come over to my house.
Yeah.
You would have thought that, hey, I was the perfect mom/wife to like have this like lavish and like so pretty party. I don't know what.
Yep, I would have gone back to all my mom friends who are like, she has it all, dolled up, and she's a super mom.
Exactly, but like it is 1%, if not less, of your entire life.
And,
So
and exactly, because that is what I feel so frustrated by. And so this is why it's such a difficult topic for me to talk about, because yes, subconsciously we do, but I personally would never, I would say,
try to deceive someone.
not try to deceive someone. I would never judge something or someone to that degree. I feel like
Oh,
there's
right,
different
yeah,
levels
yeah.
of judgment, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm in my head thinking, oh my God, who is this parent that brought in a toddler at a 1 a.m. screening of, the Avengers, is different to, oh, I used to hate you.
Yeah.
Based off of the fact of, because I read something or because I saw
Yeah.
a tweet, which
Yeah.
by the way, I really don't tweet. Like, I don't tweet
You're
anything
not-
political
You're not,
or
yeah.
anything or any big. I actually, if there is anything, I actually am more controlled in a certain level. Like, I believe your public platforms should be, yes, where you show your personality, but it shouldn't be where you pour everything. I don't agree with
I mean,
that.
this whole notion that we have to share every thing, every plate of foods we consume, every thought that we have, this is very new. Like, vloggers and like people who post about their life and stuff. This is a new notion. We never, like, if you think of a time before Facebook and these kind of social media apps,
Nothing
The-
like this ever happened.
it was
No.
like, it was not a thing that you share.
again, I'm sorry to bring it back to babies and moms. Before I gave birth, I don't know if we ever told you this, Saleh, but we were used to have a proper discussion about posting on social media, the baby and everything. And Hassan said it very nicely. He said, before photos and before social media, nobody used to post or like felt the need to actually like show and felt the pressure to show a baby or to show their family or their
Yeah,
everyday
if you
life
wanted to see the
updates.
baby, you go visit the person. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
that means you know them. It's not like you're a stranger.
And
Yeah.
same thing goes with like all the other aspects of your life. You don't need to feel pressurized to post and to show every aspect
Yeah.
of your life.
So that's why when I get sometimes opinions like this, I just think to myself,
Who are
Am
you
I-
to judge?
not just that, then I get self-doubt, right? So I think to myself, should I be sharing more? Am I not sharing enough? Am I sharing
Am I not being
Am I
honest?
not being
Yeah.
honest to myself? Then I feel like, I feel like then who am I showing? This 1%
Yeah.
that I'm showing.
Yeah.
And I just feel, obviously I'm just gonna like call a spade a spade. I just feel it is unfair. I don't think that people
Yeah.
should base their opinions on judgments on someone based on something they see on social media at all. I've met many people that didn't appear to be who they appear to be on social media, but
Yeah.
I would never prejudge them. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I wouldn't look at an account and think, hate that person. Why would I ever say that?
Yeah.
Like, what mentality do you have to be to actively hate a person or
Yeah.
dislike something based on a simple one-sided view of who that personality is. Again,
True.
unless
Yeah.
it's something like how it hasn't brought up before, which is unless it's, I don't know, again, just really thinking if it's someone
Yeah.
abusing people or
Yeah.
abusing an animal or
Right.
abusing, like if it's nothing like obviously
Really heinous.
Hurtful.
Yeah.
something
And
that's
yeah.
hurtful and endangering and again something that's hurtful to a specific person,
Yeah.
that okay is completely different. But when you see someone living the way they are, just let that person be. Or if you have any concerns, why not address it to that person in private instead of just having
Yeah.
your preconceived notion and then just going around stating it to the world.
I mean, but like, look, to be fair, like we all say, "Oh, I hate this, I hate that." It doesn't really mean we hate them. It's kind
But-
of a word we just throw around carelessly. But you definitely have a point, and I think also it's about addressing it privately. Sometimes people can't always do that. Obviously, with massive influencers, if you send a direct message, A, it might not even reach the person, and B, why would they care about what you have to say?
Yeah.
Which is which is fair enough. But I think we have to all be mindful, like you said, about what we put out there, both as someone receiving content. So if you see something that you don't like, think about the comment that you're going to say. At the end of the day, these are people behind the photos and stuff, and they have feelings just like you do. And at the same time, if you're someone who's generating content, you have to really think, am I deceiving my followers in any way? Am I putting content out there that's going to offend someone or hurt someone? And, why am I doing this? Am I am I acting as a brand, I'm branding myself in a certain light? That's all fine if this is your business.
Yeah.
But if you're portraying yourself in a way that you're this honest, open person, but then your content doesn't necessarily reflect that,
Yeah.
then you
And
have to
that's what-
expect that people are going to have something
Yeah,
to say.
that's what I was gonna say. Is, to be honest, I feel like, let's say your image is you're honest, you are showing, you are motivating, you are bringing, like you are motivating the viewers, and you just give them something to look forward to, and just uplifting. That's fine. You don't need to feel pressure to show every aspect.
Yeah.
If, like Hassan said, you are the type that you're showing that I'm 100% honest and this is exactly who I am, and I don't have any filters or any walls up, and then you go around doing the opposite, that's where I'm just like,
Yeah. And going back to what I said earlier, I think that when you said, for example, how you portray yourself,
Yeah.
it doesn't again have to be again on digital media. It could even be in person.
In
So
real
you
life,
have
yeah.
to keep this in mind. Like even when you go to and meet someone for the first time, or you're going over to someone's house, or you're having a meeting, there are things, and there are things that you say that might sound, you might actually not mean to say it in any derogatory way, but it will come out to it. So I feel like one of the biggest things is read the room. So me as someone who
Yeah.
I do post quite a bit on social media, I read the room. If I feel like something's too sensitive or anything, I wouldn't obviously want to comment on it. But then if someone were to come up to me and ask me, I wouldn't mind sharing if it's it's someone I know or something like that.
Yeah.
But in essence, I just think that it makes you think twice, because whenever I get a comment like that, I obviously feel frustrated, because it really does affect me to a point where I'd love to say, oh, I have such a
Thick skin.
that it doesn't affect me, but it affects me not because of what the person said. Like it's not like I'm losing sleep because someone out there doesn't like me.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's the idea of being understanding that there are people out there,
Who have this image of you.
but people out there have the capability to judge without knowing. This is the
Right.
thing that's upsetting. It's and it's not like, again, like,
But does
okay,
that really surprise you?
no, but then if it was some ultimate celebrity, that is unreachable,
Right.
then perhaps it's fine. But when if it's like literally a kid next door, which I love, like how I call myself kid, but like if it's literally
For a second, I was like, who is he talking about again?
if it's literally someone that's like, just I guess, your
Yeah, but
average
to you-
Joe.
I mean,
can-
to you, maybe you're an average Joe. To them, they might see you. Like you have a lot of followers, like compared to the average person. So to them,
don't judge me.
no. I'm just saying. But we are in this new age of social media celebrities, which you somewhat fall into that category, whether you choose to accept that or not. And I'm not like inflating your ego here.
No, but X is like, I think like you're asking like I'm in denial.
No, but it's true. You have to don't run. I don't think you should run away from that. You are somewhat of a social media celebrity, at least locally here, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's something that I think does come with the territory, but that doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
Look, like at the end of the day, this is the world we live in, and I'm not saying that we have to accept people judging us. I think we have to just like in real life, like you said, in a meeting, you're not going to say everything that pops into your mind. You're
Yeah.
not going to make that joke that you might find funny, but someone else might not.
Yeah.
And it's the same way. Like, I think we set a different standards for social media. We think like people have to be their real, authentic self 100% of the time. No, they really don't. They can put on a show for all they want.
And some people are actually,
and we have a right to our opinion at the same
and
time.
the thing is, some people that are popular are actually putting up a show. Like
Yeah.
they come up with a complete character. I think the only piece of advice I would like to give from my end, when it comes to, I'll speak about the social media side, is it's easier said than done. But don't judge a profile by its pictures.
Yeah.
Human beings, we all obviously hurt the same way, and it's just it is hurtful when you kind of give a opinion about someone, and it's so easy, by the way, to do it from behind a keyboard. That's honestly the like cowardly way to go
Yeah.
about it. When you go and you judge someone publicly, if you have something that's bothering you, why not bring it up to that person privately? Send a private message or contact them through email, and that's if it's bothering you on something that you feel very strongly about.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
I think I was just gonna say sometimes it is important to get your voice out there.
But I would say that has to be something that you're losing sleep over, and like
yeah.
that depends.
I disagree with that. I think
You're not gonna tell someone, "Oh, I don't like the nail polish color you wore."
Exactly. Like
no,
how,
no, of course not.
That's
But
what
that's
I
what I'm
mean.
saying.
Well, I hope you wouldn't say it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's say you watch a video on YouTube, okay? I'll give you an example. Things that provoke me to comment on is when I see someone giving an opinion or enforcing their opinion on other people. Let's say if someone's talking about a political issue that I just completely disagree with, then I'll comment and I'll say why I disagree with it. I've learned over the years and through maturity not to insult them personally. I will just voice my opinion and say why I think what they're saying isn't right, for example.
Yeah.
But see, where I think people are wrong about, and where you have every right to judge them, is when they are being purposefully deceptive. So if you're trying to sell your followers, if we're talking about social media, or if you're an author who's trying to sell a book or something where it's false information, it's lies, it's something that's harmful, then I feel people have a right to judge
call
you
them
because
out.
you're causing harm.
Yeah. There's a lot of this, by the way, in the fitness industry. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people that are out there telling people fad diets to go around, and,
Yeah.
and
And
there
I
are
mean-
trainers out there that call them out.
And to be fully
Yeah.
transparent, ironically, even though if you know me, I am definitely, this is not my avenue. I was approached, I think as a result of this podcast, by a company who was selling
Diet pills?
Yeah, like diet or nutritional supplements.
Yeah.
Like proteins and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, okay, clearly you don't follow me. You haven't even looked at my page or anything. Nothing about me says that I'm going to promote this stuff.
Yeah.
And I got back to them. I was like, sorry, I don't feel comfortable promoting something that I haven't tried.
Yeah.
And B, it's not me.
But then in the mindset of if someone unlike you went ahead and said, yes, I'll do it, but then you feel like they're deceiving you, then yeah, sure, you can call them
Exactly.
out.
And that always comes back to bite people in the back.
As you guys can see, this topic is something that we can go on forever just
Yeah,
because
I
it
feel
is
like-
very open-ended in the sense that there
Yeah.
are so many different forms and types, and we can even
And we can-
revisit this episode or this topic in a future episode as
Yeah.
well. But we want to hear from you guys. What are the forms of judgment you have experienced yourself, and how did you overcome it? Did you confront it? Did you just kind of suppress it?
And what is also different types of judgment that you don't tolerate at all? Whereas there are other things that you can tolerate.
Yeah, so if you have anything to share, do let us know. You guys know where you can reach us. We have our social pages, which are on Facebook and Instagram at Let's All Scream, or you even have our Gmail that you can email us directly on letsallscream.podcast@gmail.com.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope you join us next week on our next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Stay
Bye.
safe.